And I'm going to share my screen. And I'm going to turn off the music. Okay, so let's see. Let's get to the slides. So this slideshow is going to be available at the end of the day today. On Fridays, I like to do a review and also talk about the expectations of things that we have discussed or I have mentioned during the rest of the week. So I have a huge list right now. So let's go ahead and find today's slide, which looks like this one, I think. Nope. Wait a second, that's last week's. My apologies. Let's find this week's. to 18th, that's the one. One more, where to go? Here it is, 18th. So you'll notice that I have started putting videos on my slideshow. The reason I do this is because it's what's called built-in redundancy. What that means is if you do something more than once, if you offer something to someone more than once, 2, 3, 4 times in different ways, it's called redundancy, because you might be thinking, well, why does he have this, the YouTube video here? Why isn't he just posting it on Google Classroom? Well, in fact, I've posted it on Google Classroom and I've posted it on my website, and it's in this slideshow. So that's what's known as redundancy. So let me talk a little bit about grades. I have not added, the only thing I've added so far to the gradebook is sharing your website, and that was an assignment I gave 3 weeks ago. So that was our very first assignment. If you've been keeping up on the Daily Doodles, I'm giving you 5 points a day for that. Obviously, you won't have 25 points yet unless you've already drawn today's Daily Doodle and uploaded it. So sharing your Google Drive, I created a video this week on that. If you don't know how to share your Google Drive with me, that's worth 5 points. And someone else just jumped in. Let's see, Emiliano, good morning. I'm pausing to take roll or attendance while people jump in. So each one of these things, here's the point structure. One more time, sharing your Google site from a couple of weeks ago. We will have 5 Daily Doodles at the end of today. Here's the video for today's Daily Doodle. Adding pages to your site. Okay, so your website, and I have a worksheet that I shared with you last week on the types of things, the types of pages that go on your site. The only pages I've added to that that were not on the original outline were your projects page, and also if you're doing any sort of artwork outside of class, like for instance, I've been assigning these little daily doodles, but if you're drawing something else, especially if you're drawing it and coloring it or painting it or however you're doing it, even if you like to do sculpture, like clay sculpture or something like that, if you have clay at home, all of those things that are not assigned to you are opportunities for extra credit. So one of the other things is to add slides for each one of your Google site pages. So for instance, rather than having a bunch of things on your website, like let me show you my website. It's a really good example of what I'm trying to get away from. Let me hit escape on this. So on my webpage, which is trojanart.com, and yes, I bought that specifically for this school year. I have to move this slideshow back up here, but this is the slideshow for today. So what you're going to have is on each one of your pages, that have a lot of information on it, we're going to put a Google slideshow on each page. The nice thing about that, if you notice right here, I can go to any one of these things, and as long as it's a slideshow, I can click on this button and it'll go full screen. This index page, anytime you see something underlined on a Google slideshow, it's usually tells you that there's a hyperlink. So I'm going to click the index, and then I'm going to click today's date. So here's the beauty. We're actually in or on a Google site, but this is a slide presentation that I've put into my Google site. The other cool thing is, because I put a YouTube video in here, when I play this, I can go full screen on this also. So if you've ever seen the movie Inception with Leonardo DiCaprio, good morning, Octavio. If you've ever seen the movie called Inception with Leonardo DiCaprio, this is, and that was in that movie, he had some sort of ability to go into people's dreams and alter what they think based on what happened in the dream. But there were different levels of, or different layers of dreams. So this is kind of the same thing, where this video is inside of the website, which is, or the slideshow's inside the website, and the video's inside the slideshow. And every time you do one of these things, you can go full screen with it. So here's full screen on the slideshow, and here's full screen on the video. What you have to tell people when they go to your site, though, and obviously I'm going to have to add it to this one, is if you go full screen on these, you have to tell them how to get out of it. And the way to get out of it is to tap the escape key at the top left corner of your screen, or excuse me, the top left corner of your keyboard, to get out of that. And then I'm just close this page so that I'm no longer going full screen on that. I hope I didn't just confuse everybody with that, but I'll probably do a video on that process later also. So once again, getting back to the points, 5 points for sharing your site, 5 points for sharing your Google Drive. Your Daily Doodles are worth 5 points apiece, so that's going to be your biggest grade so far. Adding pages to your site, there's at least 3 pages that I've asked you to add to your website. That's worth 5 points. Let's see, that was here. Adding slides to each one of those pages is also worth 5 points. And then adding the Daily Doodles to those slideshows and pages on your website are worth 5 points each. So this is the second largest. So your total points so far that I'm going to be grading this weekend is 5, 30, 35, 40, 40 and 25 is 70. So we got 70 points so far. Let me say this about grading though. If I'm overwhelming you with too much information, please ask questions as you go. You can either ask them during class by unmuting your microphone, or you can come to my office hours, which are between 11 and 12. So anytime you have a question, just stop in my office hours or ask it during class. Good morning, Alan. And once again,
Morning.
This is being recorded, so anything you missed, you can go back and see when I finish recording this and upload it to Google Classroom.
Okay.
So let's see, where was I? Okay, so you'll always hear me say this. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. If you're satisfied that you understand what I'm talking about, feel free to say goodbye in the chat and then log off. And if you have any other questions, come into my office hours between 11 and 12 and log in and ask the questions there.